Thank you very much, Presiding Officer, and perhaps I'll simply start and close off the issue of national parks and saying it's slightly unusual to incorporate it in an amendment in the way it's done. None of that is to be opposed to national parks. I think it's slightly odd. But there we are. That's kind of neither here nor there. The 1919 debate on the second reading of the Forestry Bill, which took place on the 5th of August and went on until 8 o'clock in the evening, gave slightly different figures. It said there was only 4% of the UK covered by forestry, not 5%. I don't think we should argue about percent here or there. But more fundamentally, it illustrated the problem in that it said that in 1915-16, 3/4 of the amount of timber that the UK required had to be imported. That was the scale of the problem. And that's at a point when Germany had many, many times more acres planted. John Finney may be interested to know that in that debate also it was identified there were 5 million acres of sporting land that were thought to be suitable for planting and that it would be a better use of that land. So some debates are not new. They were part of the original second reading debate in the House of Commons in 1919. Like others, I am very pleased to mark the centenary of the 1919 Forestry Act. One of my ministerial responsibilities before I demitted office some time ago was forestry, and I very much enjoyed that part of my portfolio because forests are important and forestry supports so many jobs downstream, not simply in the direct line. We build timber frame houses, we have sawmills, and they all make an important contribution to our economy and to climate change. The first Forestry Act, of course, was because of the war emergency. It was vital that we had timber then, and it was recognised we needed to do something about it. We know too that forestry can help or hinder, depending how it's implemented, the dangers related to climate change. Trees can absorb water and promote higher soil infiltration rates, and that helps us in relation to flooding. They capture carbon out there, they store it. They're huge and important carbon sinks. So we celebrate our forests not simply for their physical expression of what we might otherwise express in poetry. They are a visual poetry, a feast for the mind as well as for the nose and for the environment. They are crucial for our future. And we've become more aware of the importance of them. The Community Woodlands Association, although not set up until 2003, was something that came from an appreciation of the importance of community woodlands for decades before that. So yes, in terms of Mike Rumble's contribution that relates to national parks, I think communities too, through the Community Asset Transfer Scheme that we passed in 2017, are taking more interest in forestry than they used to. And many people who sit at screens each day, who are parked in offices, forests are contributing to their mental health. There's quietness, there's stillness, there's a placid environment that is a balm for the soul. It's important too, of course, that we think of where we go now. We've got a lot of more to do to plant forests in Scotland. I hope that we continue to do it. In 1919, my father was 14 years old and at Fortrose Academy, and my father's cousin James Stevenson was part of Lloyd George's government who brought forward this bill in 1919. Presiding Officer.